Welcome to Getting Paid from Start to Finish, Part 1. This is where we will be going over Dotloop from the very basics to LPT specifics. To start, please make sure you see your LPT logo here in the left corner. If you don't, that means you are on a free account and we will not see your loops. So you want to make sure you see this LPT logo up here in the left corner. If you don't, please submit a support ticket on Connect so we can help you. In addition, when you first start using Dotloop, you want to make sure you link your board or MLS directly to Dotloop so that way you can use this platform for all of your document management system. To do so, you are going to click your name up here in the right corner, and you're going to go to My Account. From there, you're going to go down to Profiles, and then Company and Associations. You will see LPT Realty and then your state, and right under that, you'll see Add Association. You're going to click that. You can put in your state, and all of the associations that are available in your state will pop up here. If you see a green check mark, that means it's a verified account, and anytime they update forms, it will also be updated here in Dotloop. So you will click your association or your MLS, click Add, and then it will ask you for your NERDS ID and password or your MLS ID and password. You're going to put that in. If you don't know your NERDS ID, you can click this link here for help on finding your NERDS ID, and then you will click Continue. That will allow all of your forms to be pulled into Dotloop so you can work just from this platform. If you do get an error message, you will want to reach out to your MLS or board because they may have your NERDS ID down wrong, and they're the only ones that can fix that for you. In addition, in this page, you will see your notification settings. You can add your company information, profile details. You can also come here to account settings, document preferences, messenger notifications. This is where you can do all of your settings. So we're gonna go back to the main dashboard. And we're going to start a loop as if we have a new transaction or new client. So as soon as you get a buyer or seller or a potential buyer or seller, you're going to come here to Dotloop and you're going to click this blue Add Loop button. From there, you will be prompted to add a property address or loop name. So if it is a listing, you're going to go right ahead and name it the property address. If it's a buyer transaction, obviously at this point you are just beginning to work with them, so you don't know the property that they're going to purchase. So you are going to name it the buyer's name. So for this training, we are going to do a buyer transaction. We are going to say our client's name is June, July. We're going to click Continue. And then we're going to select a loop template. So you're going to name the loop either your client's name or the property address if it's a listing. Then you're going to come here to template and you're going to select the appropriate template. So if it's a buyer transaction, you're going to select that type of template. If it's a listing, you'll select that, and so on and so forth. So we are going to select buyer rep and then click Continue. You do not have to upload a photo. Just click Done. And now it's creating the loop for you. To get into that loop, you can either click View Loop or click the house. Either way, it'll bring you to the loop page. Now, it should look like this. However, if your screen looks something like this, you can either work off of this dashboard if you like this version better. However, if you want to work off the dashboard that we're going to be doing this training on, you'll just come up here to where it says Beta is on. You'll toggle to off, and it will bring you back to this screen. So when you first create your loop, there's a few things that you want to do right from the beginning. The first is go to the View Details page. From here, you're going to go down to People. You will see your name, you'll see Admin for LPT Master and Admin for LPT Realty with your state. Right under your email, you're going to see None. You're going to click that and then select your role. So in this particular case, we are the buyer's agent, so I'm going to select that. That's important for the Connect syndication. So our compliance team works off of Connect. Your Dotloop transaction will automatically import into Dotloop for our compliance team. So in order to make sure it imports correctly, these are some steps that you want to make sure you take. So you're going to select your role, then you're going to click Add Person, and you're going to select each one of your clients. You're going to put them in here. So let's say we have June, July. Click the role, so we're going to say she's our buyer. And then Add Person. You don't have to worry about any of this other information. You can put it in if you'd like, but it's totally optional. And let's say June, July is purchasing the home with Jen, July. We are going to add her independently. Again, selecting the role and then clicking Add Person. So it's really important that each one of your clients is added separately with their own unique email address. So that way, for auditing purposes, we can see that each person has signed independently. If they don't have their own email address, I always recommend you having them create a Google, Gmail, Yahoo account, or you would have to do in-person signings. And we'll go over how to do the in-person signings in a moment. All right, so now that we've added our clients, we can click Save. If you'd like to go down further and add in any property address, financial, contract date, you can do that from this page, but totally optional. And we're going to go back to the loop. So now you should see, no matter what state you're in, the very first folder will show you your compliance checklist. So if you open this up, it will show you what documents are required. There's also conditional documents, which will show you when they are required. There's some optional documents sometimes, best practices. So definitely, if you're new to LPT or new to the business in general, take a look at these checklists. You don't have to do anything with this folder though. That's just there for a resource for you. When you begin working with your clients, you are going to go through, let's say it's a buyer transaction, you are going to go through these buyer documents to get them ready to send to your client for signature. If it's a listing, same thing, you'll go through listing documents and it will show you the listing documents that are required. So these bold-faced documents are interactive forms. So what that means is when we click into them, it will automatically assign your clients' names. So let's go into the affiliated business arrangement. You'll see this autofill pop up. You're going to click autofill. And then if you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see your clients have automatically been assigned to where they need to sign. This document is an LPT required disclosure, just disclosing the other business arrangements that Robert Palmer has. Even though they may not be in your state, it is required because he is the sole owner of LPT currently. So you're going to click Save. I always recommend you save each one before you share. So we're just going to go to Save and then back to get the rest of our documents ready. Next document is the sales disclosure. This is an LPT required document in many states. Again, you're just going to click autofill. This document is, you're going to see it says buyer and seller, but it's only to be used by the client we're representing. So we're representing the buyer in this transaction, so the buyer line will be filled out. We don't know who the seller or the property address will be at this point because we just started working with them, so we can leave that blank. If you scroll down here to commission agreement transaction fee, this box here is where you are going to put your transaction fee that you're charging your client. So if you're charging them the $195 or you're charging them maybe $200, whatever you're charging them for a transaction fee would go here. If you are not charging them the transaction fee and you're paying it on their behalf, you can just put NA or 0, but please make sure you don't leave it blank. And again, they will be assigned the fields they need to sign. Click Save, and then we will go back. Next disclosure is our wire fraud, another LPT required disclosure. And again, they will sign the bottom. Now the next documents in the list are state-specific documents. So if you're not in Massachusetts, these aren't going to look familiar to you, but I do want you to see how the interactive state documents work. So I'm going to click into the buyer agency agreement. Again, it's going to give you that pop-up, autofill, but then it's going to allow you to edit any of the fields directly in here versus having to go to Transaction Desk, DocuSign, things like that. You can just go in, make your changes, select whatever you need to, and then down here they will be assigned their fields. Now this particular document requires me as the buyer's agent to sign it. So I can sign directly in here by just hovering over where it says buyer agent sign here, and then click sign now. It'll ask me to put in my name and my initials, and it will then draw my signature. I'll click adopt and sign, and that's how I will sign an internal document internally through Dotloop. Again, we'll click save, and we will go back. Now let's say you have a document that you know you need. Maybe you're related to the client and you need that disclosure signed, but it's not here because, of course, that's kind of a situational document that you only need sometimes. In order to pull in documents to Dotloop, you have three options. So you'll come to the Add Document button next to the folder name that you want the document to go into. And then you have Templates, Browse, and Email. Templates, if you click that, this is where all of the libraries will come up for your association documents as well as your LPT Realty master documents. So you'll just go down to whichever library you're looking for. So if it's a LPT document you need, you'll go to LPT Realty master documents. If it was a board document, you'd go down to the library for your board. You can just search by whatever document you need, click the box next to it, and then click copy. And that will pull in an interactive form for you so you can make the changes directly in here. If you have your documents signed in person, if you want to download them from here to get them ready for signature, you can just click these three dots and come down to download. Then let's say you had them signed in person and you need to upload them into your Dotloop. You'll just scan them, click browse, come down to the document and pull it in that way. And then finally the email option. This is, every one of our loops has a unique email address. So if you get a PDF sent to your email that you want to be put in your loop, you can forward that PDF to this email address. Just keep in mind it only works for PDFs. So those are the three options on how to get documents into Dotloop. Now let's say you are ready to send your documents to your client for signature. You are going to click the box next to each of the file names that you're sending for signature. And it's important you do this all together, so that way they only receive one email instructing them through each document, versus let's say you're sending them 6 documents. You don't want them to get 6 separate emails. It's easy for them to miss a signature. So you'll click the boxes next to the document name and then come up here to share. It will have your clients already assigned. It'll say how many fields they're assigned to, and then it'll say can sign. Now let's say it's a document that they actually have to fill out and sign. You can click this can sign and just come down to can fill and sign, and then that will give them the ability to make any changes that they need to. View only just gives them the copy of the PDF. They aren't able to do anything to that document. So once you set that, you're going to click share. And now your clients will get an email stating they have X amount of documents ready to sign. It will instruct them through each one. Once they complete the signatures, this waiting on others will then turn to signed, and you'll get an email alert letting you know that documents have been signed. And that's your key to know that you can go out and start searching homes with this buyer, or if it's a listing, you're ready to get that listing up online. So in this particular situation, because this is a buyer, we are good to start searching for homes for them now that we have our documents signed. So we are going to go out and get those houses shown to our clients. Maybe we're going to be putting some offers in. And now at this point, let's say we have gotten the property under contract. At this point, you are going to move on to the under contract steps. So very first thing to do when you have a property under contract is you want to come up here to the view details page. You want to click the loop name and you want to change it to the property address that they're purchasing. And then you'll just click save. And then we're going to go back to the loop. We're going to come to select loop status and move it to under contract. From there, it's going to prompt you to add a purchase price and closing date. Add that here. Then we are going to go to our under contract or pending folders. So you'll see that there's this grayed out document name here in this pending folder. That is what's called a placeholder. So an MLS printout isn't going to be living in Dotloop. It's going to be something that you have to pull in. So under the required or optional status, if you hover, you'll see add file. You're going to click that. You're going to click computer and then select your MLS printout, and it will land right in that spot. You'll do the same thing for all of these placeholders. If it is an interactive document, you can just click right into it and have your client sign. If it is not an interactive document and you need to add a signature box, you can just come up here to add signature, drop it wherever it needs to go, and then click assign field, and then you'll click your client's name. You can do the same for initials. Add initials, and then assign your client. Now let's say you did the purchase and sales in here in Dotloop, but it's only executed by one party in here because you had to send it over to the seller's agent. You can just come right here, click add document, click browse, and pull in the fully executed purchase and sales once you receive it from the seller, and pull that in there. Now you do want to replace this one here. This contract to purchase is going to be unexecuted, and you want to only submit the executed version. So in order to replace, you're going to click and drag the one you want to keep, and you're going to drag it to where you want it to go. You'll then see replace with. You'll let go, you'll click yes, and now your fully executed contract to purchase is now in that place. The system will not allow you to submit a file or a folder for review with any required documents missing. So let's say you uploaded the home inspector consumer fact sheet, but you didn't move it to the required field. It's not going to let you to submit it. So you want to make sure that you move it to the correct field so it overrides the blank document so the system recognizes that you have a fully executed folder. So you're going to upload all of those pending documents, and then at this time you're also going to do the intake form. Now keep in mind, within 48 hours of getting a purchase and sale signed, you should be doing this on Dotloop. Within 48 hours of getting a listing signed, you should be doing your Dotloop listing folder. So as soon as you get it under contract, within that 48 hours, you're doing your pending folder on Dotloop and you're doing your intake form. So the intake form can be completed one of two ways, either on Dotloop, as you see here, or there's also the intake wizard on Connect, which we will go over in the next video. The intake form on Dotloop, if you fill that out, you do not have to do the version on Connect, and vice versa. The intake form on Dotloop looks like this. You have the execution date, so the date in purchase and sale signed. The date submitted is the date in which you are submitting this form. Closing date, sale price, commission, MLS fee, type of sale, lead source. Commission check payable to, this will be LPT agents only. So if you're the only LPT agent representing this buyer, then it would just be your name here. If you're representing this buyer with Johnny Smith, from LPT, then Johnny Smith would be listed as agent number 2. If you are in a single check state, what does a single check state mean? That means that you leave closing with only a check made out to LPT and you have to wait for LPT to pay you. If you're not sure if you're in a single or split check state, you can definitely ask your broker. But if you are in a single check state where you only receive the LPT check and you wait for us to pay you, you will see these options here. These options are how you would like title or the attorney to send payment to LPT. So if you don't want to go to the closing and you just want title to send a wire to LPT, you would select that and you would be charged a $30 fee. If you'd like deposit link, there's a $10 fee. Mailing of a check is always the slowest method to get paid, and it would be mailed to Lake Mary. You want to make sure that title or attorneys never send mail to the local offices. And then the fastest way to get paid is for you to pick up the check from title. If you pick up the check from title, the instructions on what to do with that check are here in this box. You want to always make sure you submit a ticket to accounting after you've made the deposit. You can also opt in for our mobile app through our Commission Concierge tab on Connect. You'll just have to take a picture of the front and back of the check and then also submit a ticket to accounting. Low GCI opt-in, this is for commissions less than $2,500 in value, so for your rentals. Typically, rather than your full split, they will just take a flat 20%. It doesn't count towards cap, and the $195 transaction fee is waived. So if you want to opt into that, you would just select yes or no. If it's listed on MLS, yes or no, property address, seller name, buyer name, who you're representing. Per the sales disclosure, what your client is being charged. So this is the transaction fee on the sales disclosure. That transaction fee should also be on your buyer agency agreement or your listing agreement, and it should match. So if your sales disclosure says you're charging your client $195, then $195 should be here. If you are representing both sides of the transaction, then you can outline how you want that transaction fee broken up. If you are giving a realtor credit amount, you're going to put that here. Title company information will go in these boxes. Please make sure it's accurate because this is how they will receive your commission invoice or disbursement agreement. Opposing agent information, transaction coordinator info. If you are on a team, you'll have all of your team info here, and both you and your team lead will need to sign. Referral information, LPT referral. So if it's an LPT agent that's referring you this deal, they will fill in this section and they will sign. Any additional notes that you want to provide to compliance or the DA department, and then finally you will sign the bottom. So you'll do this when you have an accepted contract, and then you are going to click save and we will go back. Now at this point, we are going to assume that our files are complete, our pending files and our buyer document files are complete, our intake is done, our address has been changed, and our status has been changed to under contract. And now we can go ahead and submit for review. So to submit buyer transactions for review, you are going to select the buyer documents folder, so the box next to the buyer documents name. That's going to select all of the documents in that folder. Then you're going to come up to under contract or pending, and you're going to select all of those as well. Keep in mind, if you are missing anything, it will not allow you to submit for review, so you want to make sure your folder is complete. And then you're going to come up here and click submit for review. If it does not recognize the address, it's going to prompt you to add it in again. Click next. And then it's going to ask you to select what folders you are submitting for review. It should say LPT Corporate Review, and then you'll click Submit. If you are missing any documents, it's going to give you this error message, and you can open the documents that you're missing. Otherwise, if nothing is missing, it is just going to look like this. And now it has been submitted and it switches to needs review. At that point, our compliance team will begin reviewing it. They do review in the order of closing date, so you may not get a response right away, but they will review it and let you know if anything is missing, so you can come back and make those edits. If it is compliance approved, it will then move on to our DA department, and they will send out the commission invoice to both you and title automatically. Once the property is sold, you're going to upload the closing documents, and you're going to come up here to sold. Now, in the event this buyer decides they don't want to buy 780 Main Street anymore, you are going to keep using this same loop. So reminder, only one loop per client. Do not make multiple loops because that can mess up the Connect syndication. So if they decide, you know what, the inspection didn't go well, I want to back out of this deal, but I want to continue looking. What you'll do is you'll come up here to the status. You're going to move it back to pre-offer. You're going to click the loop name, click it again, and change it back to the buyer's name. You're then going to work off of this same template. So if you don't want to see the previous documents, you can just click the dots next to the folder and you can archive it. You can also come up here to click add folder, and you can create a new folder, so new transaction or whatever you want to call it. And then you can put in all of the pending documents for the new transaction once they've found a new property in this folder. If, however, they have lost financing and they no longer are going to be purchasing the home, you will come up here to the status and move it to terminated. Same with a listing. If the listing falls through and you're putting it back on the market, you would just come back up to active listing and use this same loop. If they are terminating the listing, you would come down to terminated. In addition, if you need a broker signature for any document, you would just come to the document. You'd click add signature, assign field, and then go to add person. From there, you are going to put your broker name, and the email that you are going to use for broker signatures will be your state abbreviation, brokers@lptrealty.com. You can select their role as other, and then click add person, and then you'll share it just like you share the documents to your buyer. But you just want to make sure you use that email address because that will create a ticket to the broker letting them know there's something for them to sign. In addition, if you upload a bunch of PDFs into one giant PDF, you're going to need to split it so you can move them to the necessary categories. So in order to split a giant PDF, I scanned that in, open the document, and then I'm going to come up to File, Split Document. It's then going to prompt me to divide the documents into however many I need. So I'm going to say 4. I can come in here, I can rename them, I can update the pages if I need to, and then I'll click Split Document, click Done, and then when I go back, that giant PDF has now been split into 4 individuals, and I'll be able to easily move them. So let's say I want to keep this sales disclosure. Again, I'm going to click it, hover over the one I want to replace, let go, and click yes. If you need to add an admin to your file, or maybe you have a mentor, somebody that needs access to your file other than the LPT team, you can come down here all the way to the bottom at People. You're going to click Add Person, and you can add your mentor, your team lead, whoever you need. Your team lead should automatically have access to your loop, but in the rare occasion they don't. Put their name, their email. We're going to select their role. So if it's a mentor, we'll just select other, and we're going to click this Add to My Team. You'll get this prompt. You're going to click Continue, and then you'll click Add Person. And now that person will have access to your loop and be able to make any adjustments for you. The final thing I want to make you aware of is if you are licensed in multiple states, please make sure you are creating your loop in the appropriate state Dotloop profile. So in order to switch from state to state, you're going to click your name here, and then all of the states you're licensed in will be in this drop down. So let's say you want to do a Connecticut file. Before you create the loop, you're going to click your name, come down to LPT Realty Connecticut, and then create your loop from there. That's really important because you want to be able to pull in the appropriate documents for that state. Lastly, listing documents should be submitted for review as soon as you receive that listing, whereas buyer documents you don't submit until the property goes under contract. So that is Dotloop from start to finish. Our next video will be the intake form if you choose to do the intake wizard on Connect versus the form on Dotloop. However, if you prefer to do the form on Dotloop, you totally can. It's one or the other. Thanks so much.